Hello, fourth grade. Today we will be studying the text, Women in Conservation, Jane Goodall, Chimpanzee Protector. We will only be going up to page 17, so if you would like to hear this text in its entirety, you need to go to Clever and click Myon and type in Jane Goodall. Our job in reading today is to explain how an author uses reasons and evidence to support particular points in a text. Reasons are the causes the author believes proves their point. Evidence is facts you read that cause you to believe the author's points are true. Support. If a fact supports a point, it helps to show that it is true or correct. Particular points. The author's point is something they have said that is important and that they want the reader to consider. So today we're going to use the points, reasons, and evidence strategy. We're going to pay attention to how the author layers the information in the text. Sometimes an author will start from the point. They'll just make the point, and then they'll give reasons and evidence. Other times the authors will start with evidence and reasons and then tell you their point at the end. So that is our job, to figure out which way is this author presenting the information. Who is Jane Goodall? As a young girl, Jane Goodall loved animals. From worms to chickens, from dogs to horses, she was interested in all animals the way they behaved. As an adult, Goodall has used her passion for animals to change the world for the better. Goodall is one of the best known scientists in the world. So I think to myself, what is the author's point here? I heard two on this page. One is that Goodall has used her passion for animals to change the world for the better. And two, that Goodall is one of the best known scientists in the world. So something you should know is that you can substitute the point for their opinion too. So if it's easier for you to think about the author's opinion, good, you can equate that to the same as the point. So those are the 2 points or opinions that I heard from the author. The first being that the author thinks Goodall has used her passion for animals to change the world for the better. The author also thinks that Goodall is one of the best known scientists in the world. And now while I'm reading, I'm going to think of the author's reasons for this point or opinion and the evidence they provide for this point or opinion. Goodall followed her life stream by moving to Africa to study wild chimpanzees. At first, her methods of studying the animals attracted criticism. People could not understand why a young woman would venture into the forests of Africa by herself. Other scientists faulted her for humanizing the animals by giving them names and believing they had emotions. Yet Goodall is now honored for her observations, and her methods have become the standard way to study animals in the wild. From scientist to inspiration. Jane Goodall is one of the world's most easily recognizable scientists. She started off as a scientist who studied chimpanzees. Her research changed the way people think about chimps, the closest animal relative to humans. It also changed the way we think about ourselves as humans. However, her work and goals have changed over the years. Now Goodall says that she is an activist first and foremost. Her goal is to make the world a better place. She does this by standing up for chimps and other animals that cannot speak for themselves. And she encourages young people to take charge and make things better. She says, "What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." Chimpanzees have become extinct in a number of African nations. So I need you to think now, what reasons support the opinion that Goodall has used her passion for animals to change the world for the better? Why did Goodall study chimpanzees? At first, Goodall worked for Dr. Leakey as his secretary. She had an office in a natural history museum in Kenya, which Leakey ran. Here she organized the scientists' research notes. Goodall impressed Leakey with her knowledge of animals and with her curiosity. He soon became convinced that she was exactly the right person to carry out his next project. He wanted someone to spend 10 years in the wild studying chimpanzees, humankind's closest relative. When Goodall said she was interested in the project, Leakey told her, "I've been waiting for you to tell me that." Goodall stayed in the African wild to research chimpanzees and their similarities to humans. So on the previous page, the heading had the author's opinion of Goodall, that she went from scientist to inspiration. That's her point. So this page gives me a reason why the author might think she's an inspiration. The text says she was willing to spend 10 years in the wild studying chimpanzees. That's pretty inspirational. That's a long time. Not many people would want to do that. So she must be really interested in them. But before Goodall could begin her research, Leakey needed to find funding for the project and an escort for the young scientist. Many people were concerned about a young woman venturing into the forest alone to study chimps. Chimpanzees are endangered animals, with only about 300,000 in existence today. Louis Leakey. Louis S. B. Leakey was born in 1903 in Kenya, the son of British missionaries. When he was in college, he began hunting for fossils that might give him clues about the evolution of humans. For the rest of his life, he conducted digs and studied bones. Because apes are humans' closest relatives, he was also interested in learning more about humans by studying these primates. Did you know the following are some interesting facts about chimpanzees? Humans and chimps share as much as 98% of the same DNA. Chimps can grow to be 5 feet 5 inches and weigh as much as 130 pounds. Wild chimps usually live to be about 45 years old. Although chimps can walk upright, they prefer going around on all fours. Chimps sleep in night nests that they build in trees. So now it's your turn to think. What reasons support the point that Goodall is one of the world's best known scientists? Founding a chimp research center. In July 1960, 26-year-old Goodall set out for the Gombe Stream Chimpanzee Reserve in what is now Tanzania. Her mother, Vane, went along with her to help her set up the camp. At first, the camp was made up of just 2 tents. One tent was for Goodall and her mother, the other was for the camp's cook. Few would have suspected that the camp would grow to become a world-class research center. Goodall would later rename her camp the Gombe Stream Research Center. In her own words, many people were not sure that Goodall was the best choice for the chimp study. As a result, it was difficult to find money for the project. In a 2009 interview, Goodall recalled, "Who was going to give money to a crazy project like a young girl straight from England, no degree, going out into a potentially dangerous situation?" Goodall's mother, Vane, was her first research partner. So in the previous pages, the author makes a point that Goodall has used her passion for animals to change the world for the better. On this page, I read some evidence that supports the author's point that Goodall used her passion for animals to change the world for the better. She starts the Gombe Research Center, which will hopefully help the chimps who are becoming extinct in Africa. I also see some reasons why Goodall is a well-known scientist. It says many people were not sure that Jane Goodall was the best choice for the chimp study. So that means people knew about what Goodall was trying to do. Also, it says the camp she made would become a world-class research center. That means the world knows about it. Project goals. At Gombe, Goodall studied wild chimps living in their natural habitat. Although some people had studied chimpanzees in zoos and laboratories, few people had done so in the wild. Those who had tried did not stay long. Chimps in the wild are difficult to approach and observe, and the work can be unrewarding. Leakey wanted to better understand the way early humans had lived. He felt the best way to do this was to study chimps, and Leakey knew that the study needed to be done soon. Chimpanzees were and are an endangered species. Goodall founded the Gombe Stream Research Center on the eastern shore of Lake Tanganyika in Tanzania. Did you know before Goodall arrived at Gombe Reserve, she studied vervet monkeys for more than 2 weeks? A population of these small creatures is found on an island in Kenya's Lake Victoria. Following the monkeys around gave her some much needed practice that would come in handy studying chimps. In just 10 days, the monkeys allowed her to approach them and study them closely. So now it's your turn to think. What evidence is there to support that Goodall is an inspiration? No easy task. Goodall went out to look for chimps to study as soon as her tents were set up. But she quickly discovered that observing the animals would not be an easy task. Although she saw 2 chimps on her first trek into the forest, the animals quickly fled when they caught sight of her. For the first few months of her research, Goodall spent most of her time observing the chimps from far away. The animals were still not used to her, and they would not allow her to get close. Goodall was frustrated and unhappy, but by watching the chimps through her binoculars, she learned about the different groups in the region. David Graybeard, named for his white beard, enjoyed the bananas Goodall left out in the camp. Over time, his love of bananas led to a close connection to Goodall. Here I discover the author's point that the work Goodall did was not easy. The reason why it was not easy was because the chimps fled when they saw her. Another reason is they would not allow her to get close. The Banana Club. Finally, Goodall's patience paid off. One of the larger chimps that she had been watching visited the camp when Goodall was away. It had examined her tent, leaving behind quite a mess. It had even taken some bananas that the cook had left for Goodall. The next day, Goodall left more bananas out for the curious chimp. With the young woman watching, the animal that she called David Graybeard entered the camp and took the bananas. Over time, David Graybeard would approach Goodall to see if she had any fruit in her pocket. The other chimps watched, and soon they too were coming to the camp in search of bananas. Goodall called these chimps the Banana Club. David Graybeard. David Graybeard was the first chimp to make a connection with Goodall. During her time at Gombe, she got to know him well. She described him as a calm chimp who liked to keep out of trouble. But if he could not find any bananas in the camp, he would walk into Goodall's tent and tear through her things while looking for fruit. Soon other chimps had joined the Banana Club. The Banana Club's headquarters were at Goodall's tent at Gombe. So now you need to think. Summarize the information you've learned in this section of the text so far. Now that you know all the facts, can you add them up to conclude why the author thinks Goodall is an inspiration? why the author thinks she's the most well-known scientist, and why the author thinks she's changed the world for the better? Great. This author has backed up her points with facts. Time to get out your notebook, or if you're typing, time to open your Word document, or if you're using Seesaw, time to open a note. 1. What reasons and evidence can be found on pages 4 and 5 to support the point that Jane Goodall has used her passion for animals to change the world for the better? 2. Page 5. Why did Jane Goodall's methods of studying attract criticism, which is disapproval, at first? 3. Page 5. Why is Jane Goodall now known as an inspiration? 4. Pages 12 through 17. What evidence shows that Dr. Louis Leakey was right to have Jane Goodall carry out his next project?